KI5HXO, checking radio on this frequency.
W5FC.
Station calling, I think it was KG5HSO, but I'm not sure. You're breaking the squelch, but you're very noisy, so it's hard to get perfect copy on your signal. You're weak. This is N5BB. This is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club repeater, located off near Highway 75, SMU University area in the kind of north of downtown. N5BB.
This is Kilo India 5 Hotel X-Ray Oscar, Burleson. Checking on a little bit higher power.
That's better. I would keep your audio as loud as possible. There's some white noise, but you're understandable now as long as you keep your audio level up pretty high. N5BB.
Kilo India 5 Hotel X-Ray Oscar, one more time, high power.
Yep, that's a lot better. N5BB.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm coming from southeast Burleson, so that's quite a trek for that. So appreciate your help. KI5HXO, clear.
Yep, you're doing good for such a long distance. Be safe. There's another net on here in about 7 minutes. Skynet. This is N5BB. Good evening.
N5BB, W5EBB.
W5EBB, N5BB. Hi, David. You're a little bit scratchy.
Is this any better?
Believe so, yes.
This is just a quick follow-up. You know, I mentioned I was hearing a lot of RTTY all over both 80 meter and 40 meter, and decoding it on FL Digi, I keep seeing BARTG, BART G, and then 599. Well, little web searching, this is a contest that's going on. BART G stands for British Amateur Radio Teledata Group. So there's a lot of U.S. Participation in this, apparently. I've seen some calls from California to Minnesota to Pennsylvania to Connecticut. So it's a global thing. So that's what I'm hearing, and that's why I'm hearing it. That's all. W5EBB.
Very good. Was that in 20 meters?
I haven't checked 20 meters. I've heard it on 80 and 40. Yeah, 80 and 40. Let's see, I'm checking 20 right now. Let's see what we got here. I don't see anything on 20, so it could be my antenna, but 20 looks pretty clear. W5EBB.
Yeah, propagation is pretty rotten on 20. The MUS has been too low, maximum usable frequency. It's just after the sun goes down, there's just not enough ionization to do hardly anything on anything above 40 meters. In 40 meters, it's kind of rough. You may be hearing people on 40 that are from, across the U.S., but you might not be able to hear anybody in adjacent states to Texas because the ionization level is just too low. Anyway, it's raining out here pretty heavy in Irving. Got to get out of here. The net's getting ready to start in 2 minutes. Be there or be square. This is N5BB, clearing for Skynet.
All right, very good. 7-3, Bill, W5EBB, clear.
And good talking to you again, David. We'll have to remember everybody's voices on the radio because we can't see them in person for a while. N5BB.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC. Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the pro sign break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. While amateur operators are welcome, you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. Space exploration and space history. 6. What's up? 7. Topic or constellation of the week. 8. Space launches of the week. 9. Recent astronomical discoveries. And 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A and 1273 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let's start with low power and short time check-ins. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from this evening.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Allen. Short time.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra, Gus for Northeast Dallas, low power.
Okay, we got N5WOI, William, NW5GUS, Gus. All right, we'll go to general check-ins. Please come now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill and Irving.
Kilo Echo 5, Delta Mike Echo, any of end users. Louisville.
Kilo Golf 5, Papa, Mike and Richardson.
Kilo 5, Kilo, Tango X-Ray Kelly in Quinlan. Kilo Golf 5, Oscar Mike Romeo, Marcia in Dallas.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, on a rainy Mesquite location.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Hotel, Melissa in Dallas. Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Golf, Esther in Dallas.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, Philip from Crandall.
Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
All right, that's a healthy bunch. We got N5BB Bill, KE5DME Dave, KE5ICX Tom, KG5P Mike, K5KTX Kelly, KG5OMR Marcia, KF5JHA Chaz, KG5WVL James, KF5ZBL Bill, NT5TM Tony, KI5GRH Melissa, KI5GRG, I think it's Esther. Is that correct?
That is correct. Esther in Dallas, KI5GRG.
Thank you. K5KOB Philip and KG5APL Patrick. All right, let's go for some Echolink check-ins now. Give you a couple of extra seconds, so please come now.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Golf Yankee, David.
November 5, Yankee Echo Oscar, Stephen, San Antonio.
Zero, Mike Bravo Charlie / Alpha Golf, Shane in Blue Springs, Missouri.
Slow Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy at Sherman.
November Papa, Luis in Fort Worth.
Slow Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy at Sherman.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J, near Weatherford.
Okay, I'm going to need some fills on these. Some of them I didn't quite understand. Please correct me if I'm wrong on any of these. KB5 ZGI David, N5YEO Stephen, and W0 MPC is Shane. I've been corrected. David's call apparently is Kate, KB9 SGY instead of SGI. I apologize. W0 MPC. Oh, we did that. KFI PDS Billy. And the next one, I did not get your call. If you please come back with that.
Kilo India 5, Bravo November Papa, Luis in Fort Worth.
Okay, I copy KI5 BNP Luis, and then KG5BZWJ. Does anybody have any corrections to make on those?
Correction. Whiskey Zero, Mike Bravo Charlie, not Tango.
Shane in Blue Springs. Thank you.
Now, that last station, I missed you. I think we doubled. Would you please come back?
Problem. Whiskey Zero, Mike Bravo Charlie. You had it as Tango, but no big deal. Shane in Blue Springs. Have a great night.
Okay, W05 Bravo Charlie. And your name, please?
Whiskey Zero, Mike Bravo Charlie. Shane in Blue Springs. I might be with a bad connection here.
Okay, W0 Mike Bravo Charlie Shane. All right, anybody else? All right, this is a pretty good lot to check in. I want to welcome everybody. I know weather's bad here in Dallas, but it's not that bad. It is raining, but it's a lousy night for observing the sky. Okay, let's get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams.
Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-ray.
Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-ray. Go ahead.
Thank you, Brenda. This is K5KTX, and I know if you're like me, some of you are probably stuck at home. Our office at work decided to go remote as of last Wednesday, and it's going to be that way for a while, and so trying to find things to do outside of work. And one good thing that you can do is you can play with some apps on your iPad, your tablet, your phone, and a really good one to do that with is Sky Safari 6. Sky Safari 6 is a wonderful app. I've been using it for many, many years. I actually use the Pro Edition, but they have a couple of other editions. They have just a standard Sky Safari, which I think is free. They have a mid-grade one and maybe a couple of other ones, but it's a really terrific app. And right now, through March the 31st, they're having a 50% off sale, which is a great deal. I cannot tell you how great this app is. I will sit at any time and I can look at Jupiter, for example, and somebody will say, well, what are those 4 dots? And I can actually zoom in and tell you exactly which of the Galilean moons and which position that they are in. And you can do that pretty much with all the planets that have moons, and it's just a fantastic app. It's a great tool to use with public observing, and I use it all the time. Use it pretty much every year when I go to the Texas Star Party. It's just about one of the only things I use to locate things in the sky. So it's a really, 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 I can't stress how much. It is a wonderful app. On sale, 50% off now through March the 31st. And I posted this on the Facebook page, so I'll just say it again. I don't have any vested interest in this company at all. I have met the people who've developed it. They come to the Texas Star Party from time to time. But it's a really great app, and you will find many, many hours of enjoyment just looking at it, even if you can't get your telescope out. And that's this is K5KTX.
All right, thank you. Okay, the AMSAT Amateur Radio Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, you'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT Also, a live audio link is available on their website, www.amsetnet.com. This then originates in Houston. Dallas AmsetNet, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, positive offset. All right, next, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through a telescope. Does anyone have information on this?
KF5JHA.
KF5JHA. Go ahead, Chaz.
Well, in the recent past, we had observing stations in multiple locations on Saturday nights. Well, different location each Saturday night, first, second, third, fourth Saturday nights of each month. But right now, we're on hiatus until further notice due to the problem with the coronavirus. The Texas Astronomical Society meetings that are held on the fourth Friday of each month are also suspended indefinitely until further notice. To get updated information about what's going on, I recommend all of you going to texasastro.org for updated information about the situation. I hope all of you are out there safe. KF5JHA, back to net control.
Thank you, Chaz. Next up, National Space Society events and activities. N5BB, do you have something for us, Bill?
Barely, Brenda. This is N5BB. Meetings and activities have essentially all been shut down because of the coronavirus. The International Space Development Conference in Frisco, which is planned for late May of this year, has officially been canceled. And National Space Society has officially told its chapters to stop public events, which we have to anyway because there's nowhere to go. The libraries are closed, the schools are closed, and the public parks buildings are closed, and the restaurants are closed. So, no activities, which is unfortunate. We will probably have our April meeting at the regular date, but probably via WebEx or some other collaborative tool online of conference call. One other piece of news that's space-related, but it's spacecraft-related, not astronomy, is that the coronavirus is causing grief for NASA. The Space Launch System and Orion, which are being worked on for the moon missions, all work has been stopped right now. The problem is a lot of this was going on at locations in New Orleans, or in Louisiana, near New Orleans, and at the Stennis Space Center in Mississippi. New Orleans has got this huge outbreak of coronavirus, and Stennis Space Center in Mississippi had one of their NASA people there come down with a verified case. There's also been verified coronavirus cases at Ames Research Center in California and Marshall Space Flight Center in Alabama. So this is causing grief. It's also going to be delaying the James Webb Space Telescope, which, as we realize, has been delayed many times for several years. So, not good news. N5BB.
Oh, that is all too bad. Okay, this is WB5OZL. Do we have any more check-ins?
November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay Mesquite.
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Trellis.
Okay, I got November 5, Oscar Foxtrot Clay, and the next station I did not copy much of except you started with K5. Would you please repeat?
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Okay, got Kilo 5, Golf something Delta, and I think it's Andy. Could you try one more time, please?
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Okay, good. Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy. All right. Let's move into our discussion topic of the evening. And what I have selected tonight is ring systems. A ring system is a disk or ring orbiting an astronomical object that is composed of solid material such as dust and moonlets and is a common component of satellite systems around giant planets. A ring system around a planet is also known as a planetary ring system. The most prominent and most famous planetary rings in the solar system are those around Saturn, but the other three giant planets, Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune, also have ring systems. Recent evidence suggests that ring systems may also be found around other types of astronomical objects, including minor planets, moons, and brown dwarfs, and as well the interplanetary spaces between planets such as Venus and Mercury. Ring systems of planets. There are three ways that thicker planetary rings, the rings around planets, have been proposed to have formed from material of the protoplanetary disk that was within the Roche limit of the planet and thus could not coalesce to form moons, from the debris of a moon that was discharged by a large impact, or from the debris of a moon that was disrupted by tidal stresses when it passed within the planet's Roche limit. Most rings were thought to be unstable and to dissipate over the course of tens or hundreds of millions of years, but now appears that Saturn's rings might be quite old, dating to the early days of the solar system. Fainter planetary rings can form as a result of meteoroid impacts with moons orbiting around the planet, or in the case of Saturn's E-ring, the ejecta of cryovolcanic material. The composition of ring particles varies. They may be silicate or icy dust. Larger rocks and boulders may also be present, and in 2007, tidal effects from 8 moonlets, only a few hundred meters across, were detected within Saturn's rings. The maximum size of a ring particle is determined by the specific strength of the material it's made of, its density, and the tidal force at its altitude. The tidal force is proportional to the average density inside the radius of the ring, or to the mass of the planet divided by the radius of the ring cubed. It's also inversely proportional to the square of the orbital period of the ring. Sometimes rings will have shepherd moons, small moons that orbit near the inner or outer edges of rings or within gaps in the rings. The gravity of shepherd moons serves to maintain a sharply defined edge to the ring. Material that drifts closer to the shepherd moon's orbit is either deflected back into the body of the ring, ejected from the system, or accreted onto the moon itself. It's also predicted that Phobos, a moon of Mars, will break up and form into a planetary ring in about 50 million years. Its low orbit, with an orbital period that is shorter than a Martian day, is decaying due to tidal deceleration. Jupiter. Jupiter's ring system was the third to be discovered when it was first observed by the Voyager 1 probe in 1979 and was observed more thoroughly by the Galileo orbiter in the 1990s. Its four main parts are a faint, fixed torus known as the halo, a thin, relatively bright main ring, and two wide, faint gossamer rings. The system consists mostly of dust. Saturn. Saturn's rings are the most extensive ring system of any planet in the solar system. and thus have been known to exist for quite some time. Galileo first observed them in 1610, but they were not accurately described as a disk around Saturn until Christian Huygens did so in 1655. With help from the NASA ESA ASI Cassini mission, a further understanding of the ring formation and active movement was understood. The rings are not a series of tiny ringlets, as many think, but are more of a disk with varying density. They consist mostly of water ice and trace amounts of rock, and the particles range in size from micrometers to meters. Uranus rings. Uranus's ring system lies between the level of complexity of Saturn's vast system and the simpler systems around Jupiter and Neptune. They were discovered in 1977 by James Elliott, Edward W. Dunham, and Jessica Mink. In the time between then and 2005, observations by Voyager and the Hubble Space Telescope led to a total of 13 distinct rings being identified, most of which are opaque and only a few kilometers wide. They are dark and likely consist of water ice and some radiation-processed organics. The relative lack of dust is due to aerodynamic drag from the extended exosphere corona of Uranus. Neptune's rings. The system around Neptune consists of 5 principal rings that, at their densest, are comparable to the low-density regions of Saturn's rings. However, they are faint and dusty, much more similar in structure to those of Jupiter. The very dark material that makes up the rings is likely organics processed by radiation, like in the rings of Uranus. 20 to 70% of the rings are dust, a relatively high proportion. Hints of the rings were seen for decades prior to their conclusive discovery by Voyager 2 in 1989. Ring systems of minor planets and moons. Reports in March 2008 suggest that Saturn's moon Rhea may have its own tenuous ring system, which would make it the only moon known to have a ring system. A later study published in 2010 revealed that imaging of Rhea by the Cassini spacecraft was inconsistent with the predicted properties of the rings, suggesting that some other mechanism is responsible for the magnetic effects that had led to the ring hypothesis. It has been apologize, I lost my place as I scrolled up. It has been theorized that by some astronomers, that Pluto system. However, this possibility has been ruled out by New Horizons, which would have detected any such ring system. I think I'll stop there because we've got a pretty packed schedule tonight. All this is from Wikipedia, so you can go there and see more about it if you want. And of course, this article is posted. This is WV5OZL. Do we have any more check-ins? All right, somewhere along the way I forgot to mention, and maybe I scrolled past it, that this is not the only net tonight. At 10:30 we have the Afterglow net, which is a discussion of a fine film from the past. KE5ICX. Tom, would you mind telling us about tonight's wonderful film?
Why, Miss Brenda, sure, I can do that. Tonight's Afterglow info is, listen carefully. Listen up, kids. Cora looked in the mirror inside. While he was a brilliant brain, he also realized the smarter you are, the fatter you look. He put on some sunglasses, hoping his bulging hippocampus wasn't too obvious. The phone rang. It was Val, Gore's old high school nemesis. Hey, Gore, what's happening, man? I still have a picture of you and Sally during that beer fest last summer. It would be a shame if this got out to other big brains, you know? Val laughed. Well as a disembodied brain could. Gore sighed again. This was a real kick in the parietal lobe. Join us for one of the weirder SF films, The Brain from Planet Eros, tonight at 10:30 p.m. Back to net control. This is that's my digital me, KE5I6. Back to net control.
Thank you, Tom. I see that movie just absolutely overwhelms you. Next up, space exploration and space history. Kelly, K5KTX, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Brenda. This is K5KTX, and well, it's one of my favorite times of the year with NASA, and of course it comes at a great time since, as I mentioned before, a lot of us are stuck inside. As NASA pushes the frontiers of science and human exploration, the agency also advances technology to modernize life on Earth, including self-driving cars and other innovations. NASA's diverse missions spur the creation and improvement of thousands of new products that make life better for people around the world. Dozens of the latest examples are featured in the newest edition of NASA's spin-off publication, the one that I look forward to every year, including several from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California, and many illustrating how NASA is working to shape the coming revolution of autonomous vehicles on the roads and in the air. In this issue of Spin-Off, readers will learn how the technology behind NASA JPL's Mars helicopter, which will ride aboard the Perseverance Mars rover when it launches this summer, also has aided the design of a rugged drone farmers use to survey land and maximize crop yields. A methanol-based fuel cell developed with JPL engineering know-how is being adopted by the oil and gas industry to mitigate emissions of methane, a potent greenhouse gas, during the drilling process. Metallic glass, which has been developed by JPL over decades, is now used in a coating that helps power plants avoid emergency shutdowns, saving millions of dollars in operating costs. The need for greater bandwidth for space communications has spurred the development of low-cost, ultra-fast, pulsed laser technology. Supported by JPL collaborations, this technology has gone on to support research by Nobel Prize-winning scientists. And another example, JPL helped fund a simulation of a highly efficient computer communication protocol for potential use in spacecraft, leading to that protocol's adoption by the data center and automation industries. The publication also includes a Spin-Offs of Tomorrow section, which highlights 20 NASA technologies available for license, including a nanosensor array that can diagnose illness by scent, a drought assessment and prediction system, and a computer monitoring system that alerts when hackers try to infiltrate. Spin-Off highlights the many successes of the agency's technology transfer program within the Space Technology Mission Directorate, which is charged with finding the widest possible applications for NASA technology through partnerships and licensing agreements with industry, ensuring that NASA's investments in its missions and research find additional applications that benefit the nation and the world. You can get print and digital versions of the latest issue of Spinoff, available at https://spinoff.nasa.gov. So the launch window for the Mars 2020 rover, now known as Perseverance, opens around July the 17th. So I thought I would take a few minutes during each of my weeks that I'm going to be covering space news to briefly tell you about the instruments on board this rover. So this week I'm going to tell you just a brief bit about the Mastcam-Z, which is the name of the mass-mounted camera system that is equipped with a zoom function on the Perseverance rover. Mastcam-Z has cameras that can zoom in, focus, and take 3D pictures and video at high speed to allow detailed examination of distant objects, in particular rocks. Mastcam-Z shows us the entire scene around the rover. It can look around in a full 360-degree circle and a full 180 degrees from straight down to straight up. It also sees in color. The cameras are mounted on the rover mast at the eye level of a 6.5-foot tall person. The cameras are separated by 9.5 inches to provide a stereo vision. It will have the ability to capture approximately 148 megabits per sol on average. The maximum image size is 1600 by 1200 pixels and will be able to resolve between about 150 microns per pixel to 7.4 millimeters per pixel, depending on the distance. To translate that, it will be able to see features as small as a housefly all the way from a distance that's about the length of a soccer field. James Bell from Arizona State University is the principal investigator for Mastcam-Z. And in space history this week, starting with March the 15th, back in 2009, this is one of my favorite stories. Just as Space Shuttle Discovery was about to launch on STS-119 mission, a wounded bat grabbed a hold of his fuel tank to become an officially recognized stowaway, despite safeguards that are supposed to keep such things from happening. He was a bat pioneer, hell-bent on glory. As crew made their rounds checking for icy buildup on the Discovery fuel tanks, they were shocked to find a small free-tail bat clinging to the tank's foam insulation. It likely had a broken left wing and some problem with its right shoulder or wrist. Unfortunately, it did not appear to be wearing a tiny spacesuit at the time. Using infrared cameras, NASA officials tracked the bat's location to see how its temperature changed during launch. Surprisingly, the area where the bat hung stayed a stable 60 degrees Fahrenheit, while the bat stayed a cool 7 degrees, which means it didn't freeze or burn up at the time of the initial launch. As the rocket took off, the bat stayed put the whole time until it was impossible to track any longer. Though NASA states the poor creature probably perished shortly after takeoff, no one really knows, which means you can choose your own ending here if you want. Maybe he flew off just in time. Maybe he's now the first bat astronaut. On March the 16th, way back in 1750, German-British astronomer Caroline Herschel was born. She's the younger sister of famed astronomer William Herschel. Her career as an astronomer began as William's assistant, including helping him manufacture his telescopes. Caroline began making observations of her own and quickly proved to have a knack for finding comets. She discovered her first in 1786. Over the following 11 years, she discovered 7 more comets. The catalogs she made of Herschel family discoveries are still in use today. In 1828, Caroline became the first woman to be awarded a gold medal of the British Royal Astronomical Society. She remained the only woman to receive that honor for well over a century and a half until Vera Rubin earned it in 1996. On Caroline's 96th birthday, the King of Prussia also presented her with a gold medal for science for her lifetime of achievements. Also on March the 16th, back in 1926, physicist Robert H. Goddard made history when he successfully launched the world's first liquid-fueled rocket. The culmination of 17 years of work aided by grants, the cylindrical rocket fired off from its frame and reached an altitude of 41 feet before falling back into the snow at was then farmland in Auburn, Massachusetts. The next day, Goddard wrote in his journal, "It looked almost magical as it rose, without any appreciably greater noise or flame, as if it said, 'I've been here long enough. I think I'll be going somewhere else if you don't mind.'" Before Goddard died in 1945, he was the owner of over 200 patents, including one received in 1914 for multi-stage rockets, a concept in widespread use today. It's why he is recognized today as the father of modern rocketry. As NASA in the 1950s and 60s prepared to send humans to low Earth orbit and beyond, it became impossible to not recognize Goddard's revolutionary work. His pioneering contributions to spaceflight is recognized with a NASA center bearing his name, the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. And also on March the 16th, back in 1966, Gemini 8 launched with Neil Armstrong and David Scott aboard. The mission conducted the first docking of two spacecraft in orbit, but suffered the first critical in-space system failure of a U.S. spacecraft, which threatened the lives of the crew and required immediate abort of the mission. This was Armstrong's first spaceflight. On his second and final spaceflight, Apollo 11, his calm and skill saved the day again when the lunar module was heading toward a landing in a field of boulders. On March the 19th, 2008, a gamma-ray burst that occurred 7.5 billion light-years away from Earth, halfway across the visible universe, was detected by NASA's SWIFT satellite. The explosion was so powerful that the afterglow was briefly visible to the naked eye, making it the most distant object ever seen by humans in recorded history. To put that in perspective, that means the explosion occurred before our solar system even formed. And finally, on March the 20th, 1962, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev responded to President John F. Kennedy's March 7th letter suggesting teamwork in space exploration. Khrushchev was positive about the prospect of international cooperation, saying that, in the future, international cooperation in the conquest of space will undoubtedly extend to ever newer fields of space exploration if we can now lay a firm foundation for it. Khrushchev's letter prompted talks between representatives from the Soviet Union and the United States and ultimately led to the first U.S.-USSR agreement on space cooperation. That agreement was signed just a few months later in June 1962. And that's all I've got this evening. This is K5KTX. Back to you, Brenda.
Thank you, Kelly. This is WB5OZL. Do we have any more check-ins? All right. Next up is What's Up? Chaz, KF5JHA. Take it away.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA, and my degree is in astrophysics. I work at Brookhaven Community College, and we call this segment of Skynet What's Up. Remember that Skynet is not only available on the Dallas repeater 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9, but also available to hams across the world via Echolink. And most weeks, Skynet also has a video component. You can find those links on w5fc.org website. So, with radio, Echolink, and video, I say Skynet is in 3D. But our friend Tony, NT5PM, says we are in 4D because we use the dimension of time. By the way, what goes on in the chat window in Echolink and what's being done on the video might not have anything to do with what's being talked about on the air. So to get the full 3D, or rather 4D version of Skynet, you must be monitoring all three areas at the same time. Amateur radio and amateur astronomy both have strong fellowship components where people meet and share common experiences. Amateur radio has an advantage where we can meet on the air in addition to in person. I'm glad I became a part of the amateur radio community over 9 years ago. We continue to be able to have group together meetings where other communities are struggling to do so. With this COVID-19 crisis, I'm glad that I have astronomy and radio friends to be with and communicate with. Now, I want to talk about Sir Isaac Newton. You'll figure this out in a few minutes. Isaac Newton is known as a great scientist that worked on so many things like physics, gravitation, motion, light, telescopes, mathematics, and even religion. But I want to tell you just a few things about him, because part 2 of Sir Isaac Newton's story will be told next week by our resident mathematician, Dr. Billy, KF5PDS. She's planning a detailed look at Newton next week when she is net control on Skynet. Sorry, Billy, I've just given away the secret I was talking about earlier on Echolink. Okay, Sir Isaac Newton was born on Christmas Day, 1642, using the Julian calendar is what they used back then. Nowadays, it would be on January 4th, 1643, on the modern Gregorian calendar. From the age of about 12 until he was 17, Newton was educated at the King's School in Grantham, which taught Latin and Greek and probably imparted a significant foundation of mathematics to him. He returned home in October of 1659. His mother, widowed for the second time, attempted to make him a farmer, an occupation he hated. Henry Stokes, the master of King's School, persuaded his mother to send him back to school. He became a top-ranked student, distinguishing himself mainly by building sundials and models of windmills. In June of 1661, he was admitted into Trinity College at Cambridge on the recommendation of his uncle, who had studied there as well. He started as a subsar, which is sort of like a modern-day work-study student, to pay his way, until he was awarded a scholarship in 1664 that guaranteed him 4 more years that he could, in order for him to get his master's degree. At the time, the college teachings were based upon those of Aristotle, whom Newton supplemented with modern philosophers like Descartes and astronomers such as Galileo, through whom he learned of Kepler's work. In 1665, he discovered the generalized binomial theorem. Ooh, that sounds like an interesting mathematical thing that Dr. Billy can talk to us about. And he began to develop a mathematical theory that later became calculus. Unfortunately, shortly after Newton obtained his bachelor's degree in August of 1665, the university temporarily closed as a precaution against the Great Plague. This is sounding familiar. Newton did not want to do farming at home during his time, so he occupied his time doing experiments and studying and building. Although he had been undistinguished as a Cambridge student, Newton's private studies at his home over the subsequent year and a half saw the development of theories on calculus and optics and the law of gravitation. The optics experiments during this time resulted in the reflecting or Newtonian telescope, using a mirror to gather and focus light rather than a lens. This mirror type of telescope is the basis for almost all the current professional research telescopes of today. In April of 1667, he returned to Cambridge, and in October of 1667 was elected as a fellow of Trinity College at Cambridge. Ooh, I want to say this line, so I'm going to say it. And now you know the rest of the story. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. So What are you doing if you're stuck at home during these times? We've heard already about a couple of people doing that. Instead of sitting around watching endless TV COVID-19 news coverage or binge watching episodes of The Big Bang Theory, you may want to do a little bit of writing, studying, or research that could make a change in your life or the lives of others. The reason why I'm laughing is what I put up, I gave to Tom to put up on the video, and it's funny. If you haven't been looking at it, you've got to get a copy of this sometime. Yeah, okay, let me read it. First time in history, we can save the human race by laying in front of the TV and doing nothing. Let's not screw this up. That's what it says. All right, so maybe we can do more than just watching TV over the next several weeks. Did you celebrate it on March 19th? You probably know that on March 19th at 10:49 p.m. Central Daylight Time was the moment of the vernal equinox. But more importantly, on March 19th was my birthday. I once again celebrated my 16th birthday. I braved a brief trip out to Brahms to get some ice cream. Yeah, it shows on the video what kind of ice cream I got. I hope all of us take the time to realize how blessed we are and to be thankful of those around us and what we have and not concentrate on what we don't have at this time. Since some of us have more time on our hands, it would be a great time to observe the nighttime sky using Sky Safari. Thank you so much, Kelly. And this week, the prediction is for more sunshine than rain. Woohoo! Tonight, the sunset, if you could have seen it, was 7:39 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And even before sunset, you could have seen Venus. There were a few breaks in the clouds. I didn't go out at the right time. When I went out, it had already clouded back up again. But if you'd gone outside, you could have seen it before sunset. I'll get to that more in a few minutes. But I did see the Venus through some clouds on Thursday night, about 9 p.m. when I was out on my birthday travels to Brahms. Venus is the brightest object in the sky other than the sun and the moon. Very easy to spot, about halfway up in the western evening sky just after it gets dark. The moon was at last quarter on March 16th, just a few days ago, so the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. The moon will be new on March 24th. Also on March 24th, the moon will be at apogee with a distance of 406,690 kilometers. Now that reminds me of a question I've always thought about. So if there is a new moon on March 24th, where does the old one go? And maybe Mike can answer that for me later on. A nice conjunction of Saturn, Mars, and Jupiter occurs just a few days from now on March 25th. Look for them around 5:45 a.m. Central Daylight Time in the morning sky. That would be off toward the east is where you'd be looking. Also on a different day, a few days after that, on March 28th, the moon and Venus will be close to each other. This gives us an opportunity to find Venus in the daytime sky before sunset. Yeah, on March 28th, the moon and Venus will be in the evening sky, but if you look at that before then, you can find Venus. It's so bright in the daytime sky. So around 4 p.m. in the afternoon of March 28th, start looking for the crescent moon high overhead. Look for Venus about 10 degrees northwest of the crescent moon on that afternoon. And finally, on March 31st, Saturn and Mars will be in conjunction in the early morning sky. Look for them sometime after 5:45 in the morning sky. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. So don't forget that when we get through this coronavirus pandemic, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas will resume having their meetings and public observing sessions. Check their website, texasastro.org, for details. Now, do any of you out there in radio land have any questions or need a fill on any information that I've given you? Or do you just have a general question on astronomy? I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill.
KG5P, I have an answer and a question.
Oh, I was hoping someone would let me know where the old moon goes. Go ahead, Mike. You're up.
Okay, very good, Chaz. The old moon goes the same place your lap goes when you stand up. And I've got a question to you. Are you ready?
Oh, I am ready for your question. Please go ahead.
All right. Well, since we're on the topic of moons, the question is, how does the man in the moon cut his hair? How does the man in the moon cut his hair?
Well, you know, you're asking a bald man a question about hair. I know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you share that with everyone. Go ahead.
Well, I thought that being a professional astronomer, you would have to know, but the way the man on the moon cuts his hair, he clips it. Okay, get it? He clips it? Okay, never mind. Back to net, KG5P.
See, I'm not the only one with these kind of jokes, everyone, so... Okay, so as the moon wanes at the end of March, so do these words. Until next time, keep looking up so you know what's up. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. Back to Brenda, our net control.
Thank you very much, Chaz. This is WB50ZL. Do we have any more check-ins? Okay, next.
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf. This is Joe in Arlington.
P to give his report. Go ahead, Mike.
I think you had a check-in there. Sounded like Gus, but you're right on top of him, so go ahead and take the check-in.
Gus checked in early on. Do we have another check-in?
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
I think that's Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, and the name is Joe. Did I get that right?
Correct, and I'm on the link.
To the next. All right, go ahead, KG5P.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Well, tonight I want to talk about what's going on Mars. Last time we talked about what's going on Venus, and there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. Venus, one time was water world, had oceans, rivers, all that kind of stuff, and then it encountered a runaway greenhouse effect, where basically the only gases that didn't get blown into space was a very heavy carbon dioxide, which explains why it has an atmosphere or atmospheric pressure of about 89 atmospheres, which is about the equivalent of 3,000 feet under the ocean. Okay, Mars also was a water world. Mars is 142 million miles from the sun, a planetary neighbor, where lots of monsters come from, by the way. It's a barren desert. The surface is red with rusted rock. You can see that from here. And parched sand. Beneath the dust, there's abundance of evidence of a former life. So what happened about 4 billion years ago, Mars was a very different world. Its atmosphere was dense enough to support seas and rivers of running water. And we believe these are the conditions for life to emerge. Now, I got most of my information from the NOVA series. It's still available out there on PBS. And they get into a bunch of speculation about whether life exists or not, but I'm not going to do that. But today, the vibrant world is gone. Its rivers run dry, the oceans evaporated, and so one of the questions is, why is Mars different from Earth? Earth has a thick atmosphere, Mars has a very thin atmosphere. Earth is warm almost everywhere, Mars is freezing cold almost everywhere. So why are these very different planets? Well, if you go back to the past, about 4 billion years, the two planets were very similar. Okay, 4.6 billion years ago, Mars, Venus, and Earth formed, and they started out in a very similar fashion. And they know most of this information because of the rovers Spirit and Opportunity, which landed in 2004. They were expected to only last months. Opportunity lasted for 14 years, and it discovered evidence of ancient flowing water. Okay. So we know from 50 years of Mars exploration, we know that it has a surprisingly watery path. Okay, there's a lot of evidence for ancient water flowing on Mars. For one thing, there are a lot of rivers that once coursed to the surface and they are now dry. There's also evidence for floods that catastrophically scoured the surface. Okay. It's undeniable that the early history of Mars was wetter than it is today. For example, the surface of Mars is littered with these little round things, which geologists call concretions. Concretions form typically in sedimentary rocks that are soaked with liquid water. So what they told us was that this place was where the ground was once soaked. Really, and the central discovery of this mission so far, the Opportunity, is that there were lakes that survived maybe tens of millions of years, and within these lakes there was fresh water. So let's fast forward to 4 billion years ago. Okay. About 4 billion years ago, Mars was a water-rich world. Rainfalls, rivers ran, and in the northern hemisphere, evidence suggests that water collects in a vast sea bigger than the Arctic Ocean that covers a fifth of the Martian surface. Now, the red planet was once a blue planet, but it didn't last. Okay. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter was sent to survey and get insights into the mysterious evolution of Mars. It was sent to investigate Mars' ancient seas. In 1907, it began to look at some of the planet's oldest rocks in what's known as the Eridania Basin, thought to have once been home to an ancient sea. Okay, 3.8 billion years ago, this Eridania Basin is a huge basin. It's some of the most ancient crust on Mars. It formed about 3.8 billion years ago, and it held more water than 10 times the amount of the Great Lakes, and about 3 times that of the Caspian Sea on Earth. Okay, then about 3.7 billion years ago, things started to change. Okay, Mars underwent a fairly substantial transformation in its climate. Okay, the climate got colder, and what liquid water was there either soaked into the ground and froze or froze at the surface. A lot of it would get transported to the poles where it formed these big, thick ice caps that we see today. Okay, this is Skynet, and this is KG5P. In September 2014, NASA's MAVEN probe, M-A-V-E-N, on its final approach to the red planet, was sent to understand the processes that transform Mars. And we know that the Mars climate has changed through time. Geological evidence tells us there was lots of water early on, and it's been cold and dry in the last couple billion years. Maven was sent there to understand what processes drove this climate change. It contained instruments designed to measure the behavior of atoms and molecules in Mars's atmosphere. From the measurements that Maven has made, and it's been these are over an entire Martian year, we've confirmed that the gas is being lost to space today out of the atmosphere. And it's being lost right now at the rate of about 2 or 3 kilograms every second. By measuring the gas being stripped from its atmosphere, Maven is witnessing the process that transformed Mars' climate over 3.5 billion years ago. We think that the stripping of the atmosphere over time has been responsible for the change in the climate which Mars has suffered. Mars lost most of its water and atmosphere that insulated it from the cold of space, leaving it frozen and dry. So what was it that sent Mars down to such a different path from the Earth? Okay, let's talk about the sun. The sun's out of corona at about 1 million degrees. I don't know if that's Fahrenheit or Celsius, but it doesn't matter, it's hot. And right now they're trying to figure out exactly why, because it's hotter than the surface of the sun. Okay, it releases a barrage of these charged particles called the solar wind that travel at hundreds of miles a second. The onslaught would strip away our atmosphere also, except for the powerful magnetic field that protects us. The solar wind is a stream of these charged particles that come streaming out of the sun. And at Earth, we have this magnetic field, and when those charged particles get close to Earth, they get diverted around the Earth by interactions with that magnetic field. And that protection keeps the solar wind from another ionizing radiation off the surface. So, here on Earth, we have this really great magnetic field, and we're nice, safe, and sound. Inside the shell of that magnetic field, we're protected from all that radiation. This magnetic field effectively forms a bubble around the Earth's atmosphere. So just like Earth, Mars once had a molten metallic core generating a magnetic field around the planet. It had auroras and all that kind of stuff. And the seas had seas below it, but the field didn't last. The oldest rocks on Mars do show evidence of a once powerful magnetic field. But you get to the younger rocks, the rocks that are about 3 billion, 2 billion, and 1 billion years old, there's no evidence of a magnetic field whatsoever. And there's no intrinsic magnetic field on Mars today. This invisible magnetic field around the planet is something we can't see. It's just like this layer of protection that has disappeared. So 500 million years after it formed, Mars' magnetic field died out. So once it stops, then what happens is all the atmospheric components, things like hydrogen and oxygen that make up water, they'll get stripped away because they don't have that shield. And so the higher energy particles that come from the sun and outer space and all that, they strip away all the components that make up water. And without its magnetic field to protect it, Mars' atmosphere and all its water slip away into space. So why did Mars lose its protective shield? Well, what happened deep beneath the surface that stopped Mars from developing like Earth, and that's the story at its very creation. 4.6 billion years ago, when the planets were forming from this dust cloud, they formed completely different paths. Crucially, Mars formed farther from the sun, where there's simply less rocky material to build a planet. Okay, Mars is different because it's not just further, it's actually much smaller. And if a planet gets to be too small, it just freezes all the way through. So because Mars is so much smaller, there's less thermal energy coming out from the interior of the planet, and the planet is fundamentally different from the interior out. And that's why it lost its magnetic field. It cooled down, didn't have this magnetic iron core that would move and generate the magnetic field. And that's what separates Mars from Earth. So that's what I have for tonight. I think next time we might talk about the moon a little bit, see what's going on up there. So back to net, this is KG5P.
Thank you, Mike. All right, next up, space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX.
All right, thank you, Miss Brenda. Let's see, how can I do this? Let's do it that way. Let's see. I get the information from Space Coast Launches, which is spacecoastlaunches.com, blog and launch list, and then also from Space Flight Now and a launch schedule. That one's the best one, and this is what I got. We have March 18th, Falcon 9 Starlink. Launch time is at 7:16 Central Daylight Time. The launch site is 39, Launch Complex 39 at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This is the site that was surrendered. This is the one that sent all of the Apollo Saturn rockets, with the exception of Apollo 10, I think, to space. SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is expected to launch the sixth batch of 60 satellites from SpaceX Starlink broadband network. A mission is designated Starlink 5. We also have GSLV Mark II, or GSAT. It's expected to launch. They don't give a date. Interesting. This is out of the Satish Dhawan Space Center in India. India's geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle MK2 is going to launch. That would be into geosynchronous orbit. It will launch first. India's first GEO satellite imaging spacecraft, and will provide continuous remote sensing observations over the Indian subcontinent from geostationary orbit more than 22,000 miles or 36,000 kilometers above Earth. This was delayed from January 15th. We also have a mission PSLV reset to 2BR2. Still hasn't determined where it's going to take off. This is also from India. India's Polar Satellite Launch, PSLV. Designated PSLV C-49 will launch from reset 2BR2 radar Earth observation satellite for the Indian Space Research Organization. The PSLV will launch for Cleos Scouting Mission Radio Surveillance Nano Satellites for Cleos Space, a Luxembourg based company, and multiple Lemur 2 CubeSats for Spire Global. The mission will likely use the core-alone version of the PSLV with no strap-on solid rocket boosters. On March 21st, which would be today, Soyuz OneWeb 3 will launch at, it may have already launched, this afternoon, 17:07. I don't know if it launched. Russian Soyuz rocket will launch 34 satellites into orbit for OneWeb, which is developing a constellation of hundreds of satellites in low Earth orbit for low latency broadband communications. Soyuz 2.1B, that's a standard rocket launch vehicle for low Earth orbit, will use the Fregat upper stage. All right, I'm going to move ahead. There's a bunch of launches. Some of these may have been canceled. Who knows? Everything's on a day-to-day basis. But on March 26th, a Electron launch of Don't Stop Me Now. Don't Stop Me Now. It hasn't been determined. It says March 26th, but it doesn't say what the launch window will be. Launch Complex 1. This is the Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand. The Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch on its 12th flight to the rideshare mission. The rocket will carry 3 payloads into orbit for the National Reconnaissance Office, the U.S. government spy satellite agency, and the Edisite CubeSat for Boston University, and NASA's CubeSat Launch Initiative, which will study Earth's magnetosphere and space weather. The M2 Pathfinder satellite, a collaboration between the Australian government and the University of New South Wales Canberra Space, will also be launched on a communications and technology demonstration mission. Rocket Lab has nicknamed the mission Don't Stop Me Now. All right, hang on. I think I can do one more here. There are so many launches going on right now. I mean, they're daily, sometimes 2 or 3 daily. Let's see. This is a fun one. Launcher 1, the inaugural flight has yet to be determined when it will launch. The launch site is Cosmic Girl, a Boeing 747. It will fly out of Mojave Air and Spaceport in California. A Virgin Orbit Launcher 1 rocket will make its first orbital test flight after dropping from a modified Boeing 747 carrier aircraft. This is a former PAX aircraft, a passenger aircraft that flew for many years. I even have a model of it in my other room. The same thing, except now it's got, satellite on board. The Virgin Orbit Launcher 1 will make its first orbital test flight after dropping from a modified 747 over the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. This one was delayed from 2019 and the summer of 2019. All right, one more. March 30th, Falcon 9 SAOCOM 1B launch on March 30th at 7:21 Eastern Daylight Time out of Cape Canaveral. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch the SAOCOM 1B satellite for CONE Argentina Space Agency. SAOCOM 1B is the second of the 2 SAOCOM 1 series Earth observation satellites designed to provide radar imagery to help emergency responders and monitor the environment, including collection of soil moisture measurements. This was delayed from the 4th quarter of 2019 from January to February. This mission was originally scheduled from Vandenberg Air Force Base, so congratulations. When you have to fill the gap, you go to SpaceX to make it happen. All right, that's it from me. This is KE5ICX back to net control.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have any more check-ins?
Kilo 5, Juliet Delta Whiskey, John and Coppell.
Alpha Foxtrot 5 Tango X-Ray, BJ, Crandall, Texas.
Kilo 5 Whiskey Tango Hotel, William and Rowlett.
Kilo Golf 5 Golf Tango Echo, Bob in Euless.
Okay, we got K5JDW, John, AF5TX, BJ, K5WTH. William, KG5GTE Bob. This is WB5OZL. KE5 ICX, do you want to skip recent astronomical discoveries?
No, negative. I was going to, I sent you in chat. My part, skip. You go ahead and do your part because it's your part. And your net control. KE5 ICX.
Okay, thank you. This is recent astronomical discoveries. Mercury's scorching daytime heat may help it make its own ice at caps. It is already hard to believe there is ice on Mercury, where daytime temperatures reach 400 degrees Celsius or 750 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, an upcoming study says that the Vulcan heat on the planet closest to the sun likely helps make some of that ice. As with Earth, asteroids delivered most of Mercury's water, the scientific consensus holds. But the extreme daytime heat could be combining with a minus 200 degrees Celsius cold in nooks of polar craters that never see sunlight to act as a gigantic ice-making chemistry lab, say researchers at the Georgia Institute of Technology. The chemistry is not too complicated, but the new study models it onto complex conditions on Mercury, including solar winds that pelt the planet with charged particles, many of which are protons, key to that chemistry. The model presents a feasible path for water to arise and collect as ice on a planet rife with all the necessary components. This is not some strange, out-of-the-left field idea. The basic chemical mechanism that has been observed dozens of times in studies since the late 60s, said Brant Jones, a researcher in Georgia Tech School of Chemistry and Biochemistry and the paper's first author. But it was on well-defined surfaces. Applying that chemistry to complicated surfaces like those on a planet is groundbreaking research. Minerals in Mercury's surface soil contain what are called hydroxyl groups, OH, which are generated mainly by the protons. In the model, the extreme heat helps to free up the hydroxyl groups, then energizes them to smash into each other to produce water molecules and hydrogen that lift off from the surface and drift around the planet. Some water molecules are broken down by sunlight or rise far above the planet's surface, but other molecules land near Mercury's poles in permanent shadows of craters that shield the ice from the sun. Mercury does not have an atmosphere and thus no air that would conduct heat. So the molecules become a part of the permanent glacial ice housed in the shadows. It's a little like this song, Hotel California. The water molecules can check into the shadows, but they can never leave, said Thomas Orlando, a professor in Georgia Tech School of Chemistry and Biochemistry and the study's principal investigator. Orlando co-founded the Georgia Tech Center for Space Technology and Research. The total amount that we postulate that would become ice is 1,013 kilograms over a period of about 3 million years, Jones said. The process could easily account for up to 10% of Mercury's total ice. The researchers will publish their results in Astrophysical Journal letters on Monday, March 16th, 2020. I guess that already happened. The research was funded by the NASA Solar System Exploratory Research Virtual Institute program and the NASA Planetary Atmospheres program. In 2011, a NASA probe began orbiting Mercury and confirmed signals to glacial ice near the poles. The MESSENGER, its Mercury Surface Space Environment Geochemistry and Ranging spacecraft, sent back images and data that corroborated previous signatures for ice picked up years earlier by Earth-based radar. The ice was dingy and lurked in permanent shadows in polar craters on Mercury, which is pocked by meteorite and asteroid scars, much like Earth's moon. In fact, similarities between the two orbs, including their sizes, have led to many comparisons, including the probability of water ice on both. Humans have found faint signs of possible ice on the moon, but have found ice with near absolute certainty and in comparative abundance on Mercury. That has triggered some head scratching. If asteroids, comets, and meteorites pummeled Mercury with the moon and the moon with water, what accounts for the difference in ice present? Did Mercury receive some water in a way that wouldn't work on the moon? The process in our model would not be anywhere near as productive on the moon. For one, there's not enough heat to significantly activate the chemistry, Jones said. In a separate project, Orlando's lab is engineering a system based on the same chemistry to create water on the moon for future astronaut stations to be located there.
Normal state.
Protons from solar winds are more plentiful on Mercury than on Earth, where a mighty magnetic field whips solar wind particles, including protons, back out into space. Mercury's field is only about 1% as strong, and it swirls protons down onto the surface. These are like big magnetic tornadoes, and they cause huge proton migrations to the surface of Mercury over time, Orlando said. The protons implant themselves into the soil all over the planet about 10 nanometers deep, forming in the minerals the hydroxyl groups, which diffuse the surface where the heat does the rest. I will concede that plenty of the water on Mercury was delivered by impacting asteroids, Jones said. But there's also the question of where asteroids laden with water got that water. Processes like these could have helped make it. A comet or asteroid actually doesn't need to carry water because the collision alone with a planet or moon can also make water, Orlando said. Mercury and the moon are always being hit by small meteoroids, so this is happening all the time. Okay, this is from ScienceDaily.com, and that is the end. We are coming to the end of Skynet. Do we have any more check-ins? All right then, tonight we had 30 hams participating on the air. Thank to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is WB50ZL, Brenda. I'll be closing the net at 10:31 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur. So to everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And we're going to take a little break and come back for our Afterglow net. We're going to talk about the brain from planet Eros. So, KE5ICX, when do you want to come back here?
5ICX.
All right, everybody powder your nose and get some refreshments, and we'll see you in a minute. And you must be here because it's going to be extremely exciting. This is a wonderful movie. This is WB50ZL. Okay, I can't wait. This is WB50ZL. This is the Afterglow Net, and tonight we're going to discuss the brain from planet Eros, 1957. I'm so excited we get to talk about this turducken. Tom, K5ICX, how about giving us a rundown on this thing, please?
Oh, thank you, Brenda. Geez, it's been a hat trick this evening. Here we go. The brain, or it could be Brian, I think it's Brain, from planet Eros. I got this from the incredible group of people who put all this stuff together. It's called Wiki. Is a 1957 independently made American black and white, and that's hot length, science fiction film produced by Jacques R. Marquette, directed by, you don't care about these people. The stars John Agar, yeah, that guy, Joyce Meadows, and Robert Fuller. Robert Fuller, by the way, he lives about, 8 miles north of me. I met the guy. I don't know what that means. Hold on. It was distributed by How Can They International from 1957. The film appeared in 1958 on the double feature Teenage Monster. Yep. The storyline features themes of alien possession and world domination, that should be in capital letters, by an alien named Gore. Another alien, Val, has been sent to Earth to capture the criminal Gore and return to their home world. Okay, here's the deal. I thought this would be an incredibly long plot. It's not. An outer space terrorist from a planet named Eros, a brain-shaped creature named Gore, played by Dale Tate, arrives on Earth and possesses young scientist Steve Agar. Gore proceeds to use his vast destructive powers to bend the world to his will, threatening to wipe out the capital of any nation that dares to defy him. Let me reset. Meanwhile, Vol, another breeding creature from Eros, arrives and eventually inhabits the body of March's fiance's dog. Yeah, the dog, Rover. Val goes on to explain that Gore is a wanted criminal on their world. His only physical weakness is the human body's fissure of Rolando, and Gore is only vulnerable during the brief period when he needs to exit his host and absorb oxygen. And then whoever wrote this just stopped and didn't write it anymore. Some other comments. Although the B-movie status gave it a poor reviews upon its initial release, the film has since become a cult. It has been parodied on American television. The comedy series Malcolm in the Middle uses a segment of The Brain from Planet Eros as part of its opening credits. The clip has also, that's true, I remember that. A clip that's also been used in the opening scene of the comedy film Ernest the Scared Stupid. Oh, jeez. That featured a collage of horror films. The Brain from Planet Eros is also featured in the film The Butcher Boy from 1997, which is still viewed by the main character at his local movie theater. Your feeling of helplessness is your best friend, Savage. From the film that was used in 1997, sound stage strut. Okay, I'm going to stop now because it digresses. Apparently this movie is really for people who do drugs. I don't, but I find it quite fascinating, and I may do drugs after this. This is KE5ICX, back to World Net Control.
Thank you, Tom. This is WB5OZL, and just want to pose a question first before we get started. Is that thing hanging down tail or his brain stem? And if it's a brain stem, where does it go? I don't know. Okay, we're going to take check-ins. We'll take short time, low power first. Give us your name. And, I'm sorry, your call sign phonetically, and your name, and tell us whether or not you're willing to admit that you saw this movie.
Kilo. November 5, India Mike Sierra. Short time. I will basically just be monitoring. Got too much other things to catch up on. But no, I did not see the film, at least that I'm conscious of.
Yes? Yes, I'm sorry. Tell me your name, please.
Well, sounds like somebody's trying to double for a second. This is N5IMS JJ in Carrollton.
JJ, you did not see the movie and will just be monitoring. I think somebody doubled. If you tried to check in and I didn't give your name, please come now.
Kilo Golf 5, Zombies Need Jobs, Frank Flowerman. Yes, I saw the movie.
Kilo 5, Alpha November Echo. Kane? Yes, I saw the movie.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony, Portable in Dallas. I mostly saw the movie.
K2OIZ, Roy City, Texas. Dot.
Kilo Echo 5, India, Charlie, X-Ray, Brainiac. Yes, I saw the movie. I'm in Louisville. Or I might not be.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill in Irving. Yes, I saw the movie, just like I did 2 years ago, the previous time we reviewed it.
WT9V, Michael, Plano. Yes, I mostly saw the movie, unlike some people that have been here forever and saw it 1,400 times in the past. This was my first time.
Yeah, I'm going to need some fills. Let's see, we had N5IMS JJ, who did not see the movie. Then KG5, Zombies Need Jobs, Frank, who did see the movie. Next we have James, and I missed the first part of your call sign. If you please come back with it. we'll come back to him. NT5TM Tony, who did see the movie. And the next one, I didn't get a name or full call sign. I had Oscar India Charlie at the end. Would you please come and fill this out for me?
This is K2 Oscar India Zulu. Oscar India Zulu, Roy City. No, I didn't.
K2OIZ, your name, please?
Andrew, it's George. George.
Okay, George. And KICX Tom, who did see the movie. And 5BB Bill, who has seen it. WT9V Michael, who has seen it. I'm getting a message here that I missed Kane. Oh, okay. It's K5ANE. And it's KANE. And he did see the movie. All right, how about Echolink? I know we have at least one out there. Go ahead.
Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, Jake, near Weatherford. Yep, I've seen it.
I understand Billy is on... Oh, we don't have Billy. Okay. Additional check-ins. Please come now.
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo. David in Dallas? Yes, I saw it.
G5BZW.
Did I understand a K5BZW?
I'm not sure what the problem is. This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, Jay, near Weatherford, and I have seen the film. Tried checking in earlier. I don't know if I doubled somebody or somehow on Echolink.
No, I already had you checked in, and you did see the movie. Okay, who else?
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo. David in Dallas.
Hey, W5EBB David. Welcome to the net. Do we have any other check-in?
Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Golf, Esther in Dallas.
Okay, the Kilo India 5 call, would you please come with the whole call and your name again, please?
I think something's wrong with my radio. Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Golf, Esther in Dallas. I haven't seen the movie.
Okay, Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Golf, Esther. I understand you did not see the movie. Does it mean you can't participate? Okay, do we have any more? right, well, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about the plot. It is there. You just have to look for it. And it is small. It's very small. But you can talk about it anyway. We will start with Frank. KG5 Zombies Need Jobs. What do you think about the plot?
This is KG5ZNJ. Well, it would appear to me that Tom picked this one up at the Schlock store yet again. There wasn't really a whole lot of plot. I mean, this mysterious brain came and caused a bunch of trouble and then tried to take over the world through the use of, I think it was Steve. And, when I saw this movie and I saw that it was about a little floating brain of some sort, I kind of thought it was going to be a light comedy, maybe like Alf, like an alien comes to visit and the main character has to hide him and he's friendly and it's just kind of fun and lighthearted. And, maybe something like Francis the Talking Mule or, like I said, Alf, but instead we got this hoodlum brain. And, they maybe should have put him in like a punk leather jacket with a little stiletto, like he came to Earth to get some kicks. That was pretty much what you got. And the brain reminded me, as Gore was his name, he reminded me of Plankton on SpongeBob, so I think that may have influenced the Plankton character, I'll use my superior intellect to take over you weaklings, so it was kind of funny, and I enjoyed the scene where he finally got his, when they axed him. That was actually funny, with the fishing line holding the brain floating in the air. That was pretty darn good. The few other little things about the plot, a terrible plot, lots of mistakes. They went to Mystery Mountain. Geez, that's not a cliche. And, the little scene where they had to cook the cute little lunch and the coffee was served as always. Yeah, we've all seen it. And, there's just little touches like, nobody's been here since 1900. And then they're like, well, I didn't see this cave last week. What about you? And, everybody's been to this mountain, in the last week. Anyway, that's what I have for this plot. KG5ZNJ, back to you, Mind Control.
Yes, well, that set was Branson Caves in Griffith Park. And in case it looks familiar, it was also the Bat Cave. And one of the movies we did, Robot Monster, that's where the gorilla alien hid out. And you can look at it on Wikipedia. You've seen it a million times. It's not technically a cave. It was dug out by a quarry, but yeah, that was pretty unreliable there. All right, next, K5ANE, Kane, go ahead.
Have you heard of Mystery Mountain? I hear there's a lot of mystery happening on Mystery Mountain. Let's go to Mystery Mountain, guys, and I'll let you hear all about what we found at Mystery Mountain. Gosh, seems like they said that word 1,000 times at the beginning of the movie. It was just getting absurd. So, I don't know. I don't have too much to say about the plot. There really wasn't too much of it. I thought it was kind of, I don't know, the whole scene of all the world leaders and whatnot, it just, I don't know, it just seemed, incredibly fake and just like, oh my gosh, look at this guy. He just blew up this plane with his eyes. I don't know. Not much to talk about with the plot, I think. This is K5ANE, back to net control.
Okay, NT5TM Tony, go ahead.
Thank you, Brenda. I think those two fine folks have trashed this movie adequately, but I'm sure I can try to help and trash it a little more. The only really redeeming feature of the plot was that it was short. It would have been even better if it were even shorter, about 42 minutes. I think what we had here was one episode of a television series here. Maybe we could have had an ongoing battle between two dueling brains. Who's the brain going to inhabit this week? A surfer! That might have been, kind of a more fun little gimmick. The only redeeming feature I noticed in the plot, and yes, they sure did like repeating themselves. No one's been here to this cave in 100 years except me yesterday. Let's go to Indian Springs. Really? Are we going to go to the big meeting in Indian Springs? Yeah, I've heard there's a big meeting in Indian Springs. Screenwriting is such hard work, and a genius makes it look easy, but of course these people make it look very difficult. The one redeeming thing, I really appreciated one of the brains inhabiting a household dog. When I think about how everybody in our neighborhood likes dogs and pets dogs, and they can go all sorts of places, and the people who bring their dog to the grocery store when they're not supposed to, dogs can go a lot of places that you wouldn't expect, and they can be kind of sneaky and innocuous. We don't really know what they're thinking, do we? NT5T, I'm back to net.
Yes, dogs are thinking deep, deep thoughts. I have it on good authority. Next up, K2OIZ. Can't read my writing. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I can't read your name. Please. But you didn't see the movie, but do you want to make a comment?
K2OIC, I have no comments.
Very well. KE5ICX Tom, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I'm not sure what to say about this fine film. It is a fine film. It is a classic film. It is something that everybody should remember, although I don't remember. This plot is something that keeps coming back over and over again. Everybody comes to Earth, and they want to, take over the Earth in some way, shape, or form. Gore Vidal, they come here and they decide they're going to fight over our planet. Can two big brains do it? I don't know. Did they? I don't remember. I fell asleep. But if they did, then how do we overcome that? What would Gore Vidal do? I don't know. Alright, so one of the most important parts of the film were, I can't remember if it was Gore or Vidal, took over the little dog. Well, the German Shepherd. That's it. I had to think about it for a minute. The German Shepherd, and it got to do things, and somehow or another. How does that work out? See, this is more of the thing, but I don't know. You know what? I've been here, cooped up at my house now since a Wednesday. I think I'm going nuts. Here, boy, KE5I6.
Okay, well, you're not alone. N5BB, Bill, go ahead.
This is N5BB. Tom, I hope you're okay. What does Gore Vidal have to do with this movie? G-O-R-E, Vidal, as opposed to G-O-R, the alien. Anyway, we talked about this movie, saw it, talked about it, and reviewed it 2 years ago in January of 2018. And maybe nobody else remembers this, but I certainly do. So I saw it back then, and I saw it again today. It's kind of a cult classic. In particular, it has some pretty good music in it. And I sent an email out to many of you here, not everybody, but several of you, if you check your email, will see it. I sent out tonight. And there's a link to where Joyce Meadows, who is Sally, the femme fatale in this movie, she's still going at it, and she has her own website where she sells the CD of the movie, the soundtrack, by Walter Green, who did a lot of other things. So when Mr. Magoo, the cartoon character, went to TV, he did the music for Mr. Magoo. He did a lot of movies in the 40s and 50s, and then 60s, 70s, 80s, he did a lot of short films, a lot of shorts he did in cartoons and things. He did the movie. So a very prolific composer, musician, and he's still around. He's 73 years old and living in Victorville, California. Walter Green. No, excuse me. He's not around. What am I saying? He can't possibly be 73. He died in 1983. Sorry about that. So, oh boy, I got that wrong. Anyway, but Joyce Meadows, the actress that was on the movie, she's still around, although she's pretty elderly. I view the plot as two different plots intertwined. There's the science fiction gore alien plot, and there then is the Steve and Sally and just kind of mild-mannered love affair. They're engaged, except when the alien gets into Steve, and he gets very sexually aggressive. So one of my favorite, so by the way, the tagline from the movie is, what is it? It's, it will steal your body and damn your soul. It will steal your body and damn your soul. That's the tagline of the movie. But one of the favorite quotes from the movie is pretty early in the movie when Steve comes back from the cave, and he's a little weird, and he starts getting very aggressive towards Sally. The quote is that Sally says, "That's my tongue, Steve," when he gets a little aggressive on kissing her. So I thought it was kind of interesting there how they definitely mixed up a the love interest there along with the science fiction movie. You know, as far as the plot went, they had a Tektronix oscilloscope in one of the first scenes. It can't be all bad. Again, the soundtrack's pretty good. In 5BB for a B science fiction movie. In 5BB.
Okay, Michael, WT9V, you're up.
I'm what? I don't have a whole lot to say that hasn't already been said because, you know, there's about 2 minutes worth of plot in this thing. And Mystery Mountain, Mystery Mountain, Mystery Mountain. I kept waiting for Scooby-Doo and the group to show up. But in response to Tom's comment, that, you know, the plot keeps coming back over and over, I think what you actually meant to say was this movie keeps trying to come up over and over. And, Bill, please do remember that there are new people in the net, and just because you've seen it 487 times, we haven't. So we should suffer too, just like you have. And it's your own fault that you watched it again. I'm actually kind of waiting for Brenda to get, for her turn when she starts talking about the because there's always comments about the women. And in this one, she was the bravest one of them all, She's like, no, I'm not going to run and hide. I'm going to confront this thing. And, let's go and explore the rest of the cave. So, I thought that was pretty good, especially for the era. The guy was kind of dumb. The other brain was pretty useless. I mean, other than that, whole whack him in the middle of the head, the one moment that he's corporeal. And every other time he wasn't corporeal. It was always just a vision. Like, you could throw things through him. But one moment, well, I guess it was the only moment that counted. But, well. And what's his face? The other brain, useless. Useless, I say. Also, Frank, it was pointed out to me, and this has nothing to do with the movie tonight, but it was pointed out to me yesterday by a friend on another repeater that this is the most boring zombie apocalypse ever. He expected more excitement, and I blame you. WT9V.
Okay, now be nice. KG5BZWJ, go ahead.
KG5EZW. Yeah, what to say? The creepy jazz music that they used in whenever wherever the brain infected main character. I don't know who the human was. In fact, it's interesting to me just how I was pretty sure I'd watched it with y'all on a few years back, and yet I could not remember for the plot of the film. So it almost felt like I was watching it new, and it's such a silly thing with everything resolves at the end. Yeah, except for try explaining why this guy who is apparently now without a sycophant or whatever the heck brain infection, why try to explain to the world why this apparent murderer is actually not a murderer and all of that stuff. Just kind of ended in such a nonsensical way. It's like everything's fine. Everything's fine. Yeah. I don't know. I thought I was amused by the music. I was amused by the dog being inhabited by the good brain. There is just. I guess the one good thing I can say is that it did not irritate me so bad that I just could not watch it, which happens a lot. But anyway, KG5BZW, back to that.
Okay, W5EBB, David, go ahead. Plot, or lack of.
Well, for this kind of movie, I thought the plot was actually pretty good. I mean, there have been some really bad movies of that black and white 1950s sci-fi era, but I thought this story was actually was interesting. It was pretty good. Now, gore, Gore really had a chip on his shoulder. He was mad at everybody. He had a crux to bear, intent on evil, domination, and destruction. You know, perhaps Gore's fascination of wickedness obscures, you know, what was good, and his roving desire for absolute power corrupted his mind. But we knew that eventually, as Stewie would say, his uppance would come. And Gore really didn't even see it coming either. You know, he thought all this evil he wrought would go unpunished, but he was running a big tab at Club Evil. Gore didn't know that Vol was hot on his trail with a plan and a purpose, and it's interesting that Vol chose the dog. A good choice for the dog's surreptitiousness and being above suspicion, but also a good choice for Vol's brain to inhabit, because wisdom will not enter a deceitful soul, so the dog was a safe bet. All in all, like I said, I thought this movie was well above average for comparable movies of the era, especially on its $58,000 budget, and I agree the music was quite good, especially during the desert scenes. W5EBB.
Okay, KI5GRG, Esther. You didn't see the movie, but do you have something to say?
I probably won't see this movie. Sounds pretty bad. KI5 GRG.
Well, all of the movies we watch are pretty bad. That's kind of the drill. All right, it is my turn. I agree with David that the plot wasn't that bad. It was coherent. You could tell somebody later what it was about, you know, and the action followed in a logical way, but it was pretty dumb and implausible. I don't know why they came up with a brain. You know, where's his mouth? You know, why does it have eyes? Does it eat? You know, does it make more little brains? You know, what kind of creature is this? And how does it operate a spaceship to get here? And how does it talk? Well, I think it talks telepathically, but still, it's just the most unlikely of creatures, even though it's an alien. So, in its one weak spot, you've got a brain, which is soft tissue. You could probably stab it with an X-Acto knife, but there's this one thing called the Fissure of Rolando, which is its only weakness. Now, we humans have those too, and I don't know if it's a weak point for us, but why does it have the same structure in its brain? And why does it have a brain that looks like ours if it's an alien? So, I just thought that was kind of a stretch. Now, the director on this movie, he hated it so much when he was done, he put an alias on it. He wouldn't even put his name on it. So, I like the dog that was possessed. I just think that was so bizarre. And the dog was cute. All right, I'm going to pass this on. Do we have any more check-ins? Well, let's start at the top. We're going to talk about characters. Frank, KG5, Zombies Need Jobs. What do you think?
This is KG5 ZNJ. Well, the apocalypse is off to a slow start, and, well, the zombies need jobs, and the problem is nobody's hiring. So there. Now, as for the characters and the characterization, using my superior intellect and college-educated brain, I would characterize Steve, Dan, and Sally as lackluster, threadbare, tiresome, and most pedestrian. But I liked Gore because he reminded me of Plankton, and I thought he was funny. He went to college. KG5ZNJ, back to you. Mind control.
Okay. K5ANE Kane, characters.
Yeah, you know, it really seems like the only real character that fully got developed was the I forget her actress, her name now, the lady star actress. She seemed to be the most fully developed character out of any of them, as far as like her own, you know, desires and backstory to an extent, and you know what she was planning on doing throughout the movie and all that kind of stuff. And then secondly, Val, for sure, he definitely had his goals that were established and things like that. The other that's Gore. Val, the other brain, just seemed like he was just there, and he didn't seem especially useful at all, except for that tiny little bit of information of hit him on the top. So, you know, I really don't understand the whole, sometimes the brains were ghost kind of creatures, and you could throw things through them, and then suddenly at the very end, he's now like a physical creation, and you can hit him with an axe. I don't know. Yeah, seemed like most of the characters in this movie were very flat, and didn't really have a lot of depth to them. So, that's what you get with the 1950s sci-fi, that's for sure. This is K5ANE.
All right, NT5TM Tony, go ahead.
Well, this movie has an interesting place in musical history. There is a song by the DJ/producer Deadmau5 called More Ghosts and Stuff that starts with a sample that I now realize was taken from this movie. Near the end of it, where he says, you know, after I'm gone, your world will be free to live out miserable existence as one of my satellites, and that's the way it's going to be. And that was a kind of a neat bit of characterization. And I have to admit, this is the only movie that I've seen where the villain had a genuine maniacal laugh like that. I mean, you don't get a good maniacal laugh in most modern movies. Other than that, yeah, everyone was pretty simple and predictable, and yeah, the dog was cute. That's about all I've got to say. I think I'm gonna switch to listening mode for the rest of the night, but thank you, everybody. I've enjoyed what everyone has had to say, and thank you, Brenda, for staying up and being that control. NT5TF.
Okay, thank you, Tony. K5ICX, go ahead.
Oh, jeez, I gotta figure out what to say about this film, and, what are we doing? Characterization. Oh, what was that guy's name? Oh, let me see, Steve. It was all about Steve. Everybody's, you know, worried about how Steve's gonna take care of things. Oh, wait, Joyce Meadows was in this. She was in, what was that thing, To Tell the Truth. And Robert Fuller, that's the guy up the road from me. I even drove by his thing and met him, I don't know, like 15 years ago, and now he's like in some sort of a oxygen tent. But in any case, all these people are really great in this movie, and who couldn't love them? idea what happened in this movie after a while, because it was sort of like everything is going on in a very boring way, and what happens and how do you handle it? And, it's work. Never mind. I have nothing better to say. KE5ICX.
All right, inside BB. Bill, go ahead.
Oh boy, Tom, get some sleep. I don't know why Tom was mentioning, to tell the truth, where Jane Meadows was, and she is totally unrelated to Joyce Meadows, the lady that was in this movie. So, you're confusing me, Tom. You're going off on crazy tangents. Joyce Meadows is not Jane Meadows, and they're not related to Aubrey Meadows either. Totally unrelated people. I think I've said enough. I'm getting tired of this movie. Inside BB. Good night.
Alrighty, WT9V, Michael.
I can't actually think of much to say that Kane didn't already steal from me. And not because, we were sharing notes or anything. It's just because he had pretty much the same thoughts. Most of the characters were pretty flat, I thought, except for what's-her-face, the one lady in the movie, who I thought actually had some fairly good development, and she seemed to step up to the plate when the plate needed to be stepping up to, and everybody else should just kind of dull. Although the maniacal laughter comment was very good and accurate. So I'm going to do my part to put this one in the ground sooner and toss it back to you, Brenda. WT9V.
All right, K25BZWJ.
K5BZW. Yeah, I misused a bird. But there's no second sense here. And my brain's not working to know what word I was trying to think of, because it seems like there's gotta be something that exists that actually describes this weird thing. Anyway, what? All the things I could think of that, about this film, there ain't much I could say about the characters, except for, the gore is kind of the evil stereotype, and just, there's, hardly, if it weren't for the lady, there wouldn't be a film, and it's literally, the plot, it's all about her interactions with Steve, and if it weren't for her, it really, okay, so we got the first Dan, who's a throwaway, the sheriff that's a throwaway, the random leaders, which don't really make sense, which are throwaways. If it wasn't for her, the dad's a throwaway. The dog, I don't know. You kind of need a cute dog to make the story make, I don't know. You need the Q factor of the dog, I think, but I don't know, not really. I'm just saying, because everybody seems to be a throwaway, even the good brain who suggests the actual plan of action to an otherwise immortal thing. There's just not much I can say. So I think I've gone ahead and said all I can say. KG5 BCW.
Okay, W5EBB David.
Well, I thought the floating brains were pretty well done. I mean, the brain itself, you know, without any extra elaboration, looks pretty weird, you know, so all you have to do is turn it into a big balloon, and yeah, it's pretty creepy. But for some reason, it reminded me of Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street. And I think it was the droopy, sort of sad eyes, but Snuffy's snout dragged in the front, not from behind. The other character I'll mention is the eyes of Steve March. His character, while possessed by Gore in radiation destructo mode, reminded me of Ray Milland from The Man with X-Ray Eyes, especially the end of that movie. But, you know, the characters, they were all right. And and of course they killed off his buddy, his scientist, because he had to get back to the emergency set. W5EBB.
Yes, the eyes. Those were foil-covered contacts, and you saw them again, or something, the same thing, on Gary Lockwood in the classic Star Trek, Where No Man Has Gone Before. So it's very creepy, I know, but very effective also. The characters, I should talk about the woman. She could cook. I don't think she did anything else. She just seemed to wander around the house all day. I don't know that she had any purpose or anything useful. But she had a good head on her shoulders. She had common sense. She was smart, and I like that. So yeah, I agree with some of the other comments that she was one of the more stable characters in this thing, and I appreciate that. Some of the actors, John Agar was always drunk on the sets. He lost a lot of jobs for it. He was married to Shirley Temple, and when they got divorced, it was hard for him to find work, and that's one reason why we see him in a lot of B westerns and sci-fi movies. But I think he's a pretty good actor. Yeah, those caves. I always wondered why it had a floor. That's because it's not really a cave. It was dug out. And we see that if you look up Branson Caves, it looks like maybe hundreds of movies and TV shows that it's featured in. You'll know it. It's everywhere. All right. Well, that is all I have. And I would like to know if there are any more check-ins. This is WB50ZL. Okay, then. We're going to talk about special effects. Let's go back up to KG5ZNJ.
This is KG5ZNJ. Well, one little comment when they went to the mysterious mountain. when they were showing the scene of the mountain, like before they got to the actual cave, I could have sworn it was the exact same spot where about 10 years later Captain Kirk fought the Gorn. I think it was the exact same place that they filmed. It wouldn't surprise me, but it reminded me of that, except it was in black and white. Special effects, well, they had some kind of little model brain, and you could clearly see the fishing line when it was flying around the room, and I'm sure there was some grip or best boy or whatever you call them that had a fishing rod and was zooming it along. So, yeah, they sucked. KG57J, back to you.
Okay, K5ANE. Kane, go ahead.
The special effects were about as bad as what I expected from this movie being a 1950s sci-fi. Some of the scenes where the brains were in a ghost form, it seemed really weird. Like the way that they were layering that on the film, it's like the edge of the brain would be like cut off in a way, as if it was like not being filmed right or composited right. That always just kind of seemed really strange to me, especially in the cave scenes. It seemed when they meet Val, it just seems like he's not composited on there right. And then all the planes dangling from little fishing lines, and they're just bobbling around, not moving like a plane would at all. And it's just, it's like a firecracker goes off and the thing just blows apart. Just, you can see parts of it still on the wire, dangling and bouncing around. It's just, gosh, it's been a while since I've seen special effects that look that great. This is K5ANE.
Okay, let's see. KE5ICX. Tom.
Alright, I gotta tell you something. Here's on the special effects. I'm watching in real time, I'm watching The Invaders. And there is a Bell 49 that landed in front of Vasquez Peaks, which is the most wonderful place that you're going to do otherworldly things on film. And that is the place. Yeah, it's the Star Trek thing and everything else. Very cool. It has been in homage on many different shows in many different ways, going back to the 40s, which I think is wonderful. I think it's great. Maybe even the 30s, because it's very close to the studios. It's like 30, 45 minutes away. Let me reset. So in the conversation, I think it's fantastic that this shows up on yet another science fiction program that's running live. Everybody's dead, but it's running live on MeTV right now, and it's exactly what we were talking about with what Frank said and all of that. I don't know. Overall, on the show itself, it wasn't all that bad. I thought the special effects were okay for 1957. I thought that the story kind of held up in the process while they were doing it. But in the end, it was somewhat inadequate and uneven in the way they handled everything. But visually, it looked good. I think it did. I think that in 1957, it was tough to, create the integrated special effects that we all wanted at the time. And I think memorable job. Now, that doesn't mean that I thought the plot was good, or somehow the characters were engaging. If you compartmentalize the whole special effects, I don't think they were that bad for 1957. I think that they were able to create kind of an environment that actually worked. It was filmed well. The audio was excellent. No problems there. So if I'm going to say anything about this film is that technically they did a great job. Everything else, it was a disaster. KE5I6.
Okay, let's see. I'm lost. WT9V, go ahead.
Was it my turn? Okay. Sure, why not? Yeah, what everybody else has said. There were some of the effects that were, well, most of the effects were terrible. The floating vision brains weren't too bad, but the real one was really bad. The cinematography was pretty good. I mean, I thought it looked nice. The visuals were good. The outside bits. It was, it was framed well and all these kind of things, but special effects weren't. WT9V.
Okay, KG5BZW, Jay.
KG5BZW. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of one thing, and I think I agree pretty much with everything as well. As much as they can agree with each other. Now I remember what I'm trying to say. It's like I know we're talking about the 50s and special effects and all that, but it really annoyed me that when the brain, the good brain, went into the dog, it didn't really orient itself or anything. It just kind of randomly kind of, it's just, I feel, I know that, I'm just wondering, it seems like they could have done that a little bit better. For whatever reason, that scene really annoyed me. In fact, the floating brain when it was realized, if we want to say that didn't even annoy me that bad as much as the brain that just it was just randomly kind of this is good enough. Yeah, we'll just put that brain right there and it'll be good. Yeah. The music, I already mentioned the music. I actually agree with the cinematography point WT9V made. But when it's, not requiring special effects, they actually did a decent job. I don't know, the lenses were definitely creepy, the contacts, I should say. So, that worked well enough. I'm not sure if anything else that hasn't already been said, so I'll shut up. KG5BCW.
Okay, W5EBB, David.
Well, the special effects were kind of hit and miss. The brain transparency scenes were pretty good with the pan and zoom. They were well done, adequately supporting the story. And even at the end of the movie, when the full-size brain first attacked Steve, it was kind of scary how it zipped across the room in a straight line. It kind of reminded me of the alien chestburster scene when Junior screeches and skitters across the Nostromo dining table. But then it gets comical soon thereafter when he starts hitting it, and you see it's just a silly balloon with fishing wire, kind of moving it around. But I did think that the CGI modeling and rendering of the dog was quite realistic. Very impressive, especially considering the computers they had in the day. W5EBB.
Alrighty. Well, I went to Vasquez Rocks. We went to a sci-fi convention in the LA area, and we drove up there. It's a little park. Well, I mean, it's a big park. They made a million westerns there. And we went out and climbed on those rocks where Captain Kirk was, and we did not find any Gorn. We took pictures. It's pretty exciting, but there's no Gorn there. So if you ever go to LA, it's a great little tourist spot. And wear your Gorn suit. I have a question. Why am I talking about Star Trek? Because we were talking about Vasquez Rocks earlier. And that's the reason we went to Vasquez Rocks. All right. I think they're going to call for more check-ins. Okay. For final comments, just give me your call sign, and we'll go through the rotation.
Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Golf.
Okay, KI5, Golf Romeo Golf. Esther, what do you have?
Well, I just had a question for anyone who's picking the movies. Are y'all ever going to watch Contagion or anything interesting that's new in relation to the past 3 years or something? KI5GRG.
I'm going to address that question to our fearless leader, KE5ICX. Tom, would you like to address that?
This is KE5ICX. Well, yes, I'll take anything new. This one was decided by another person who did not check in. So, Contagion. I've got an asterisk here. And any movie that anybody wants to bring to the forefront, and we got it over on Afterglow movie. If you go there, 2 words, Afterglow and movie. People have been putting stuff up there, so I've got that. And if we can do Contagion, we'll do it. One of the things that I try and do on the movies is that it's available online with ads or without or whatever. but that hasn't always been the case. So if there's a movie you want to see and it's available online and everybody can see it, then that's cool. That's great. So if you've got a film, let me know where you can find it directly. Otherwise, I'll go and look for it indirectly and put it up. Contagion is now on the list. So I'll go find it and we'll see what happens. That's all I can do. KE5I6.
WT9V.
Go ahead, WT9V.
Just to answer your question, Esther, last week we did Planet of the Apes from, I don't know when it was, 1967? 68? I don't know, I think it was 68. And the week before that we did War of the Planet of the Apes, which was from 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. So yeah, I mean, we have watched good movies, we've watched some great movies, we've watched some really terrible movies, we've watched some really old movies, we've watched new movies, relatively new movies. In fact, we've watched, a couple of times it was the movie that was in the theaters that week. So, yes, really new movies. Sometimes we've watched old movies that were excellent. One of the movies that we watched a while back was actually effectively the pilot for The Twilight Zone. And it was really good. I'd never heard of it. And I was really glad I saw it. So it's not always terrible stuff. And it's not always old stuff. But sometimes there are rare gems in the old movies. So it's kind of a mixed bag. WT9V.
Yeah, I want to put my 2 cents worth in. Sometimes the ones that you think are such turkeys, nobody cares, we have to turn off the lights to make people leave. Everybody loves to talk about it because it's fun. Because it's fun to watch the old movies and make fun of them. And sometimes there's things in those movies that aren't ridiculous, or bits of trivia, or, maybe it had a great composer, or, one of the actors was just fabulous. So it's often a mixed bag. All right, any more comments? Please come down with your call sign. Well, okay then. I'm going to call on Mr. Tom, KE5ICX, to tell us what's in store for next week.
All right, thank you, Miss Brenda. I am double checking. I think we should be able to watch Blade Runner 2049, which came out. A bunch of us went to go see it in the theater, and I believe it's still available now. And I love the original Blade Runner from 1980, I think it was. And now this newer version is out, and I love it just as much. So it should be available. I'll put it out on the links. Go to Afterglow Movie, 2 words, over on the Facebook page if you'd like to join. If you don't like that sort of thing, go ahead and send it to Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, KE5I6 at yahoo.com. Say you would like to be added to the list, and we'll get you in there. And I will send the links from there, KE5I6.
Okay, any more comments before we close? Okay, this is WB5OZL closing down the net, but anybody wants to hang around and make additional comments about this movie or anything else, please be my guest.
Well, thank you, Brenda, for doing the net this evening. I think it's great. And yes, this movie's still out there and available over on Amazon or something. I don't know. KE5I6.
Is it free?
Well, I think it is. I'm looking. I'm not sure anymore because you get the paywall and everything else. I think this one is free.
Yes, it is free. I saw it pop up a few days ago. One of the channels that is on the Amazon Video app is the IMDb channel, and this is one of the free with ads movie that's hosted by IMDb, but you watch it through Amazon Video. W5EBB.
This is exciting. We did the original Blade Runner for an Afterglow once, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. I have not seen the second one. I know that there was a group trip, but I missed it that day and was just really sorry because I want to see it. This is WB5OZL.
This one is one of those movies where the original was great, and I think that the sequel is as good, maybe better. It's a little long, but I just love this movie. I think that it's really there. It actually takes Blade Runner forward in a way that really works. So watch it. The problem is this is a really long movie, so you may have to watch it over 2 nights. It's too long, but really good. KE5I6.
Well, I agree with you, Tom. Blade Runner is definitely in the top 5 of my favorite movies, and this was a good follow-up. It extended it. It didn't just duplicate it. It extended it and covered a lot more thematic ground, and the cinematography is excellent. I can't say that the music is as good, but the cinematography is on par, definitely, and especially the casino scenes, very, very well done. And Brenda, I thought Ryan Gosling was like your playboy friend. Of course, he stars in this. W5EBB.
Yes, the secret's out. There's a picture of me standing with him in the gift shop at the Frontiers of Flight Museum on my Facebook page. He is so gorgeous up close, and he's so nice. So unfortunately, he's already got a partner and some kids, and he's probably half my age. So, but that's okay. He's good eye candy, and he's a great actor.
Well, he plays a very good replicant. W5EBB. I'm clear.
Oh, by the way, just for the fun of it, the opening sequence to this film is what the original Blade Runner was going to be, and they nixed it. So, just saying. All right, 7-3, everybody. It was great. And don't forget, if you want to be a part of the net Monday through Friday, 10 a.m., join the company net. Company net. Everybody gets up, they get out, they smoke, and they check in. All right. 7-3, everybody. I think I'm tired. See y'all later. Bye-bye. And remember to buy bonds. We probably have to. See you later. KE5I6. I'm clear, I think.
I want to thank everybody that participated. We had 12 check-ins, and that's a lot for this, for the afterglow. I know it's late at night, and not everybody can stay up like this, but I appreciate everybody's participation. This is WB50ZL clear.
Tom is clear with a chance of meatballs. WT9V.